Good morning and welcome to the Rewind. Hashtag 16. It's been a couple of weeks. We had a bit of a break because no football action last weekend, but we're at the sports bar. I am getting good at that. It's Brent Peters, manager of Bacup Borough. Good morning.
Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Can you hear me? We're having a couple of technical issues, but Houston, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think I need to go and have my ears stringed. Then I might be able to hear you a little bit better. A good shop in Haslingden, cleans your ears up.
Yeah, what's it called? Let's give them a plug.
Fresh hearing. Fresh hearing in Haslingden. That's where I think I need to go.
Brilliant. We'll send him the invoice in the post. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Busy as usual.
No, you've been busy this week. I always know when you've been busy because you never ring me. Usually this phone rings at least 5, 6, maybe even 7 times a day. But over this last week, Brent, I've had 2 calls off you.
I bet you're glad about that one, aren't you?
I am a bit, but I just know that you're under a bit of stress when you don't ring me because it's all hands to the pump, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's been busy. Even though there's been no game, but there has been games technically, because even though the first team haven't played, we still had the under-23s have played, and and then obviously there's been things going on around the club, especially this time of year when it's kind of Halloween stroke bonfire. We don't have there's enough fireworks go off around this club all year round, so we don't need to have a bonfire. But we certainly have an Halloween night, and
yeah,
for the community and the kids. And Deborah, as usual, her legendary Halloween went down last night. A real
spot on.
Excuse the pun, an absolute bomb.
It worked because I saw social media, and there were a good 30 or 40 kids who turned up last night from the local community.
Yeah, not only turned up, which was good, they all participated in costumes. So that were brilliant. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's one thing turning up to an event, but if it's there where you've got to get in fancy dress, or and there's some great costumes from what I saw.
Yeah, great. We've had an extra week because no game last weekend, so it gave opportunity for some of the players to get themselves on track. I know we had a few injuries. How we doing on that front?
Well, we're getting there. We're not where we want to be yet, obviously. And the breaks, helped us a little bit. But last week, as I reported on the last Rewind show, we had Kyle Siddall was back, and he'd completed a training session. I wanted him to participate in the under-23 game on the following Thursday, and he felt he wasn't just right for that one, which kind of missed his opportunity of being in the squad on the Saturday against Chadderton. But the following week, the under-23s last Friday, we're a week today, week last Friday, the under-23s went to Darwin and had a great win where they won 3-0. An hat-trick by Michael Gervin. We managed to get Michael Gervin some minutes in that, because as you know, Michael Gervin's missed quite a few minutes because he's been suspended.
Yeah,
so Michael Gervin got some minutes in that game, and Carl Siddall came through in that game as well, so he got minutes, and 90 minutes, and he was flying in that game. He looked quality, to be fair. I was well impressed with him, but to be perfectly honest, I was well impressed with a few lads on show that night. Jack Howard, the goalkeeper, we know what Jack's about. He's working hard with Harry, and they get on really well, and they work well together, and he's coming on leaps and bounds. A couple of weeks back, Rosendale Sports FC Sports Club were short of a goalkeeper going up into one of the cup competitions in their league up in, I think they went up to Vicarstown. And they'd no goalkeeper, and it was great experience. I allowed Jack to go and play for them, and it was great experience for him. And they came back with glowing reports of him. But we know what he's about, Jack. And again, he did a good job in that game. Not that he had a right lot to do, but the bit when I say, you know, when we talk about goalkeepers, some people think that if you're praising a goalkeeper, he's had a lot to do in terms of shot stopping and everything else. No, I'm talking about his general run-of-the-mill situation where he's organising his back line, where he's constantly talking to people. You know, the basics, you know, and he's coming out and collecting things, you know, under pressure, and his handling is impeccable.
Yeah.
You know, and then when he has to be brought into the action, he's there on hand to do that. And you know, and Jack to do it, you know, he did that in that game, and you know, he's getting everything right on the basic side of his of the goalkeeper's game. You know, so I was kind of impressed with him. You know, the lad that played at left back, Brady Boardman, I was impressed with him, and we had a game this week, behind closed doors game, a training game, and he was against Anthony Hall. And it's funny because Gareth Wager, he doesn't know anything about Brady. He hasn't seen him before or anything. He sent me a text message, not about Brady. He sent me a text message about that young lad, and we send our best wishes to him. I can't just remember who he called. Owen, the young lad who's 11-year-old, and he's been diagnosed with leukemia.
Yeah.
You know, so we send our best wishes for Owen and wish him all the best on his road to getting over that terrible situation that he's involved with. But he was texting me about that, and whilst he was texting me about that, he was he also mentioned Brady. Well, we know what Brady's about. You know, we know that the lad's got a good future, and he said, Brady Boardman, he said he did well, and he was against Anthony Hall as well, you know, and he said he did really well. But he did really well in the game against Darwin. And, you know, he's one for the future, is Brady. And his brother, you know, his brother is as well. And then young Lewis Hewitt, which is Callum Hewitt's brother, he did well in the game. You know, they all did well. We out signalling people out at Darwin. They all kind of did well. But I just felt that I needed to kind of mention them because, you know, they are coming on leaps and bounds, which is
good, isn't it? It is good, Brent, that there are players coming through the under-21s and 23s, which is why they were set up in the first place, to bring these players through and create that pathway that we've seen with Lucas Sorrell.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that you know, I mean, listen, we make no money. It's not about a money making. I mean, some clubs that shall remain nameless that have gone in really, really big on the youth setup and everything. It's all the money. It's a money making machine.
Yeah.
But we lose money. We lose money. You know, I mean, what it costs us. I mean, to start with, we don't charge an admission for the under-23s. We might have to revisit this, but the under-23s play midweek, and it's on under floodlights. So, you know, that's not cheap.
No.
And then, you know, like, people come and watch. It costs £80 just for the officials. You know, on the home team, you don't get any subsidy. You know, we've got to pay that. You know, if you're the home team, you have to pay. And we don't charge on the gate. We put it down. We trialled it where people could put donations in. Well, I'm not being funny. The last time we put, people take the absolute pilsner, in my opinion, because they walk on and they don't put anything in. The only person that put something in the last time that we had donations on the gate, and I saw that he did it, and it was the only donation in, which was Alex Mellor's dad. You know, he contributed, and we're grateful for that. But people don't realise, you know, we don't make you pay to come on.
Yeah.
You know, but we should do, really, because where's the £80 for the officials come from, and where does the paying of the floodlights come from?
And then when a club folds, they all ask questions. Oh, how did that happen? Well, it happened because you put your hand in your pocket. Put
your hand in your pocket. You know, we're not telling you you've got to do. If you can afford £1, throw £1 in. If you can afford £5, throw £5 in. If you can afford 50 pence, throw 50 pence in. I'm sure you can afford something, but to walk on a football ground and not contribute anything is an absolute pee take.
Just a bit. I want to ask you. how's Toby Wright doing? Because he had that ankle injury about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Is he recovering well?
Well, the good news for Toby is he came back and had a training session last week, and we always say it's kind of, and I'm really glad we did this week actually, because we always say that when you've done a training session, you've got to go and play in a game situation to make sure that you kind of, because listen, you can train all you want, you can pull out of things in training.
It's fun.
You know, but when it's a game, you're in it, you know, and that'll tell whether you're fit or you're not fit. In terms of Kyle, coming back to Kyle has played his game and he's come through and he's trained. So he's had 2 training sessions now and he's had a game. So Kyle is back into contention fully. Not a problem with Kyle.
Yeah,
he's fully recovered. In terms of Toby Wright, like I said, you know, we have always insisted that you know, they come back from an injury, they train, and we see how it is in training. When we feel that they're all right in training, we'd expect them to play in the 23s or the 21s, just to prove the fitness in a game, and then they'll come into contention. So in the situation with Toby last night, we should have had the 23s should have had a game on here last night, but with that horrendous weather, you know, that game got pulled. But luckily for us and for Toby, we actually had a training game behind closed doors on Tuesday night, and Toby came through that game. So we'll class that as a game. So the good news is that Toby now comes into contention with Kyle for Saturday's game. He comes into contention.
And what about Gareth? Gareth Wager.
Gareth, he's another one. He actually participated full 90 minutes in the training game, and he's come through. So now he's back in contention. The ones that aren't in, so we're getting them back now. We are getting them back. The ones that aren't in contention yet is Lewis Byrne. He's had a real problem. He's kind of his words, not my words. My head's in a mess, Brent, because this injury has really kind of done him in a little bit. But it were, you know, the simple thing is, it wasn't a football. It kind of is a football injury, but not a football injury. He was doing it at work. He's crinkled his ankle at work, and his ankle was up a right mess. But the good news is, I said to him, look, it's no good going for any checkups at hospitals or anything like that, because they won't do anything x-rayed until that swelling goes down. So we have to get that swelling down. We got the swelling down. So he went for his x-rays last week, and the hospital have confirmed there's nothing, no damage. There's nothing. It's just a case of you know, strengthening it up now and getting it. But he's kind of a little bit in his head. He's kind of a bit concerned that it might set him back if he plays. He's not ready. He's just not ready yet.
No,
but he's not far off. And the other one is Ross Mallinson. Now Ross Mallinson's a different kettle of fish. I mean, Ross actually played on Tuesday behind closed doors. But as I've said before on this show, we've got to be realistic. And if we're not in any serious trouble in terms of numbers of you know, centre halves, if we're not struggling, then why risk Ross when he's trying to get a career in the fire service? And he's in intense training, and he's only got another 4 weeks. He's only got another 4 weeks to do, and he's finished all his training. And, you know, obviously, you know, then at that situation, hopefully he'll be accepted.
Brilliant.
He'll be accepted in. But we wouldn't want to play him in a game and then he gets injured. And like he said to me, if I get injured and I can't complete this rigorous training program, I have to start all over again.
We could be jeopardising a lad's career, all for what? 90 minutes of football.
Yeah, so we're not. We're kind of just we've got plenty of player competition in that area, and we don't need to do that. So if we don't need to do it, then there's no point doing it.
Yeah. Well, Nelson tomorrow away at Little Wembley. A good surface is Nelson, always has been.
Yeah, it's a nice surface, good pitch. I'm not going to turn around and say it should suit our style of football, because I'm not being funny. We went on a true surface all the way to a 3G at Pilkington, and yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm not going to say that, but yeah, it's a good facilities, Nelson, and we haven't got much travelling to do. The only thing that does worry me about Nelson is we've had horrendous weather, and the forecast isn't good for this afternoon, and the forecast isn't good for tomorrow morning. So it's kind of worrying me a little bit, because they do look after that pitch, and
they like to protect it. They like to protect. They like to protect that pitch at Nelson.
Yeah, so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that this weather isn't going to take its toll on us, and that game's going to be a victim.
How's the? I know we talked about it earlier in the week, but how's the coach coming on? Because I believe you've got it in now. It's in for let's say a bit of cosmetic surgery.
Well, last Saturday I drove. Give me the opportunity. I watched the 23s on Friday night. I could have taken a game in on the Saturday, but I felt that I needed to get this coach sorted out. So I took it down to a place in Castleton in Rochdale to have a look at it with a view to getting it all signed, written up, and everything. And that's due to go in now on Thursday. He's got everything. We've seen all the props of it, and that's going in on Thursday. So hopefully after Thursday we'll be up and running and have it on the road. The only thing that I'd like to happen, if it's possible, ahead of Thursday, is, like we said, there's an opportunity, a great marketing opportunity. Definitely. For any businesses out there, that want to advertise their what they're about, and traveling all over, the Northwest and beyond. That there'll be a great advertisement, and it's basically the prices that our commercial team have put on it are it's for peanuts.
It's for peanuts, because it's a full package, Brent. It's not just the coach. It's also going to be all the social media platforms as well, and it's not just first team, because all the teams will be travelling on this. So that coach could be out on the road around the northwest of England at least 3 or 4 times every single week.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a great, listen, there's plenty of spaces on it. So without it making it look silly, it's still looking very, looking well.
Yeah.
So, if there's any businesses tuned in or that want to dip the toe in the water with this, then contact us, because it's going in on Thursday. To have our logos put on it, and have Bacup Borough Football Club team coach on it. So basically we might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. So having a company's logo on the back of the coach or down the side, traveling around the northwest of England, is going to be pretty decent exposure.
Well, it is, yeah, and I think it's, I really do. If you break it down, if you think about what it costs us to advertise, even if you put an advertisement up and park your vehicle outside at road on them advertisements, they've cost a fortune. This is for nothing what we are asking.
Well, it's several £1,000s what they charge you, and it's probably just once or twice. Where with us, it's going to be over probably an 18-month period, maybe even longer, depending on what package you want to sign up to.
Yeah, that's right. So it's fantastic for any businesses out there. There's only there's certain businesses that really do tick the boxes. I mean, dare attempt. I mean, one of our partners that's one of our partners that's right on the doorstep is Windsor's World of Shoes. Well, it makes sense for them to do it because, in my opinion, because they've got a Windsor's World of Shoes, there's a Windsor's World of Shoes in every town in the Northwest.
Yeah, so it's Northwest. It's a Northwestern regional thing.
So to me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So,
and then of course, we've got the other ones who are already partnered with us who might be interested. But there's quite a lot of middle to large companies who would find that appealing.
I think so, and it's not like they're going on a Del Boy buzz. I mean, it's a really impressive.
Yeah,
you know, I arrived at Castleton last week. The guy's gone, blimey, this is a good piece of kit. It's lovely. And when he walked inside it, he went, wow, well, this is great. And then he couldn't believe the price I paid for it.
We did strike. Well, you did strike gold with that coach, didn't you? Because it is attractive.
I think so. Yeah.
And for the price as well. We won't go into the price, but it was a bargain.
Really was, especially when the guy last week said that to me. I thought, well, I was rubbing my hands. I thought, well, yeah.
We just need some sponsorship out of it. Yeah. I want to mention, I mentioned it before we came on air, but I want to talk about it. We've got the Bacup stuff out of the way for now. We'll talk again on Monday after the match. But one thing that is close to your heart, and I wanted to catch up on it, and that's Manchester United. I was thinking about you last week, Brent. I thought he's going to be crying, and he's going to be crying at this because not only did you lose 5-0, but it's against Liverpool as well. So it must have been a really difficult one to swallow. Sorry for laughing, but it must have been difficult for you.
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, it wasn't. I feel if you're a football, you know, where I've been in football, and I probably speak for there's millions of linking football managers out there and coaches that are doing exactly what I'm doing, and they kind of follow Manchester United. Yeah. So if you're a manager, we look at it as football's football. It doesn't matter whether you're playing, whoever you're playing. I mean, you know, it's all right saying, well, they've got beat, and not only got beat, but they've been embarrassed by Liverpool. Yeah, you know, it's your local rivals, and you know, the two main clubs who's been going head to head for many, many years. And I get that. But in reality, let's be honest, and I've said it so many times, that football's football. There's no guarantees. Yeah. There's no guarantees with anyone that you're going to win a game of football. You know, who'd have thought, with all the millions and everything, that, you know, Manchester City went out of the Caribbean Cup this week. Yeah. You know, I know they didn't play the kind of first choice side, but nevertheless, it don't matter whether it's the first choice, the second choice. The choice is that they've got abundance of quality in that football club. Yeah, they went out on penalties, and you know, a superstar in Ford and missed the penalty, which can happen. That's football. It's the beauty of football. There's nobody got a guarantee and a divine right to win football matches. It doesn't happen. And I mean, some people, ardent Manchester United supporters, or certainly the younger ones, will start to think that, you know, Manchester United only have to turn up and they'll win games of football because they've been used to the success that they had over many years with Sir Alex Ferguson. But football's not about that. Football, even in the Sir Alex Ferguson era, Manchester United have had a few tonkings. You know, I remember at one game they went down to Southampton, and Southampton turned them over. And if you remember, Sir Alex Ferguson went on record and blamed the kit.
Yeah, I think it was the black or the grey strip that they'd worn for the first time.
Yeah, you know, so it happens. It's football. I don't buy into all this that you know that you know, we're going to win or what I do buy into is that whatever team it is, when you go out on a Saturday, providing that everybody in the team gives their everything, they give their all, and they play to the full potential, and if you get beat, and I say this even about Bacup Borough, if you get beat, you've got to throw your hands up in the air and say, look, we got beat. On the day, we got beat with a better side.
Yeah.
And that's what makes football, you know, what it is. I mean, Burnley over the hill, you look at a league table, they're struggling like mad at the bottom, you know, and it's in a difficult league. But let's be honest, and you see you go onto some sites and see people bleating about Burnley and questioning whether they should change the manager, and they'll all have an opinion of who should be in the team and who shouldn't be in the team. But one thing is Stonewall certainty in every game that Burnley go into that I've noticed, and I don't go watching them, but when they've been on they always give 110% in every game.
Minimum.
They're fighting for the cause. And unfortunately, they fall short. But why do they fall short? Because they're in such an elite competition.
They haven't got the resources.
They haven't got the resources. Correct. So, you know, people have got to realise, but they don't realise. You know, it all comes back down to this. You know, I've seen one or two this week. Well, you might as well say we'll be relegated if we don't beat Brentford on Saturday and stuff like that. Well, it doesn't work that way. You know, They might not beat Brentford on Saturday because Brentford have kind of...
They've had a good start for the first season.
Yeah, they have. But that's football. As long as everybody gives their all in the team, then you can accept it. So going back to the Manchester United situation, it probably didn't. Did it surprise me? No, it didn't surprise me. No. Because, you know, we can all be managers. We can all say what should happen and what shouldn't happen. At the bottom line is it was embarrassing, but the writing was on the wall. Yeah. Even like you said earlier, Paul Scholes hit the nail on the head in midweek after that European game.
In a nutshell, it was so accurate, it was untrue. Yeah,
so it was really, 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 really disappointing. But I kind of think, look, let's take Ollie out of the equation at the minute. He's the man in the firing line, as every football club it is, where
he's going to be the fall guy in the end of the day.
It happens at every football club, doesn't it? And really, it shouldn't. It kind of shouldn't happen. I mean, people have short. Let's be honest. It's in the DNA of Manchester United. Is what's happening at the minute, and all these young Manchester United supporters that have been used to the success that Sir Alex Ferguson brought us, they won't realise this. But if you look back, it's in their genes. Sir Matt Busby, top manager, retires.
Yeah.
They give it a Busby babe the job. They bring in Wilf McGuinness, a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
They bring in Wilf McGuinness from the club. Wilf McGuinness, he will tell you that he thought he did quite a reasonably good job at Manchester United. He got to, I think, a couple of semi-finals, but being Manchester United, the semi-finals aren't good enough.
No.
So if you remember what happened were eventually, and this is a guy that has to start managing his teammates, which is like George Best, Dennis Law of the Hill, Bobby Charlton, and Sir Matt Busby brought him in. And then it wasn't working. So Sir Matt Busby had to step him down, and Sir Matt Busby came in himself for a short time while they looked for, replacements. And even then, trying to find replacements, they went through a few managers before they found the elite one that kind of with the best manager, which is Sir Alex Ferguson. But prior to Sir Alex Ferguson, there were quite a few managers that came and gone. Franco Farrell, Dave Sexton. You get me? So what's happening now, basically, is kind of
a bit of history repeated.
A bit of history of what's happened previously. Yeah. It's happened. It's in their genes. Now then, my thing is where Manchester United, personally, and this is my personal opinion, where Manchester United have made a big mistake. I fully understand why they wanted to give, or potentially might have wanted to give, Ryan Giggs the position when Ryan Giggs was muted and did take over for a short time. I fully understand why. And I fully understand that they wanted somebody when that kind of didn't happen, when they wanted somebody like of that ilk, who's at Manchester United running through the veins. They know the DNA of Manchester United, and they wanted to give it that. So that led to Ollie.
Yeah.
Now, we are on the outside looking in. We don't really know the character of Ollie, and no supporters out there know the character of Ollie. All we know is that Ollie's CV at the time, under most circumstances, would never have got him a job at a club like Manchester United.
No chance.
It wouldn't have happened, right? But because people at Manchester United know his characteristics, everything about him, not just that, you know, he's been here and he's only been at that club, or he struggled at Cardiff, or this and that. That's immaterial. They know him as a person. They know that he's got credentials, or potential. That's the word, potential credentials to do the job. Now then, this is where I think Manchester United have made a massive, massive, massive mistake, because there's nothing wrong with giving somebody stepping somebody up in your organisation. So let's take football out of the equation. Let's look at businesses. If you've come up through, you know, from the bottom. Yeah. Like my partner in crime, Simon, who will be back before long. He's out in Spain sunning himself now because he's retired. He's earned that. Yeah. But he started off at a leading footwear manufacturers in Bacup that is now part of the Windsor's World of Shoes group. Is part of that group, if you follow me, which is Sutton's.
A massive,
it's a big group. He started on the shop floor, basically, probably as a sweeper upper at first, and then he progressed into doing something else, and then progressed into doing something else, and he gradually has gone up the food chain in that establishment.
Yeah.
The directors and the shareholders of that company obviously like this lad because he's shown a lot of loyalty to him, and he's liked him, and he's not a lad that's like, you know, somebody that's behind the door and not got a brain. He has got a brain.
Bit of grey matter up there, then they could work with.
Correct. So then what's happened is they progress him again, and he progresses and progresses till eventually he's running departments because he's been trained up and he's learnt from the best within their operation. If you follow me logic, he's learnt from the best in their operation.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's been co-opted onto the board. Yeah. So he's then from a lad that started at the bottom, he's come up and he's come through the ranks, and he's got onto the board.
But when that happens, Brent, and I think you're going to come on to it, when that happens, you've got to make sure that you've got a good mentorship or a good guidance.
This is exactly right. This is where Man United I think have made mistakes, because if Sir Alex Ferguson is no Dumbo, he's no Dumbo, and Sir Alex Ferguson, let's get one thing straight, will have a big say in that, still in that club today. He will have known every attribute about Ollie and seen his career and everything, right? And he would have known. Now, unfortunately, as we know, Sir Alex had the setback with his health.
Yeah.
But I think on everything being equal, I kind of think that what should have happened, even with Ryan Giggs, is that Sir Alex is still there. Ryan Giggs, or Ollie in this case, Ollie is kind of being mentored.
Yeah, and still has the final say. He's still in charge.
He's still in charge, yeah. So what will happen is that Ollie, he gives him more responsibility, and he's there behind him, shadowing him.
Yeah.
But starts to give him more and more responsibility. And as he gives him more and more responsibility, Sir Alex drops further back into the background.
Yes.
Till eventually, Ollie takes over the mantle fully fledged on his own.
Yeah, with a full set of training.
Yeah. Now, what's kind of happened, that hasn't happened, probably because of Sir Alex's situation where he's had the brain tumour.
And he's been away from it for a while.
And he's been away. So it's kind of thrown it. But this is where I think that it is still a major problem for Ollie in terms of what he needs. And I've seen it so many times, not just now, even last year. And I said it to you when I've talked to you off air.
Yeah.
I've said it loads of times. I see it when there's in a match situation where there's been games going on and it's been crying out for substitutions because things aren't just going right. And it's like he's looking for somebody to speak to, but who is he speaking to? And I'm not being disrespectful here. He's got Carrick, who Carrick was an excellent footballer, but he's never had no experience of actually managing and in team situations. It's like, I'll ask you a question. Would you give a junior coach that's like, he's on paper, he's passed all his qualifications, he's got everything, but he's only actually been the highest he's managed coached is at under 18 level. Well, would you give him a position of being the first team manager of one of the biggest clubs in Europe, or not manager, a coach of one of the biggest clubs in Europe? He hasn't. Eventually, you might do, but at the minute, he's only just in that transition period of coming from a player to a coach. You see where I'm coming from? And the other guy who's come from Tottenham. The other guy who's come from Tottenham is worse than Carrick because the other guy weren't even a player as such. I think he had an injury, he took up the coaching. That doesn't mean to say they're not going to be excellent top coaches and they're not good at the jobs to a point, but you've got levels. Yeah. And they've been appointed and been stepped up into the first team arena and Manchester United, where they're kind of coaching top European players. Yeah, that's worth millions in pounds.
The pressure and intensity is tenfold.
Correct. So when the situation's going on in a game and Ollie wants some to bounce things off, he's bouncing them off somebody that's like wet behind the ears.
Yeah.
And there's and no doubt they're saying something back to Ollie, and Ollie might be thinking, well, I don't think that's right.
Yeah. And as you've always said,
instead of making instant decisions, it's going on, and before you know where you are, everybody's going mad. Why has this substitution's not been made? They're making them too late. That's because they're having a board meeting at the side of a bleeding pitch because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Where a manager is pretty good at making quick decisions. Where, like you say, with the board meeting, but you've always said it, and I'll say it again: managing and coaching are two different things.
100%.
And what Ollie needed was when he took that job, he didn't need a Mike Phelan alongside him. He needed an ex-manager alongside him.
Steve, I have got nothing against Mike Phelan. Right? Nothing at all against Mike Phelan.
I'm not seeing anything.
But let's be straight here. When Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge at Manchester United, we all know that Sir Alex Ferguson was very much his own man.
Correct. Didn't need anyone alongside him.
So Sir Alex Ferguson, the fact is, Sir Alex Ferguson being Sir Alex Ferguson, respected Mike Phelan, brought him as a player from Norwich City.
Yeah.
I think I'm correct in saying.
You are.
Brought him as a player from Norwich City. Done what I said were happening with Simon Holding at Sutton's. Got him into the coaching ranks at Man United. Give him a platform and progressed him till eventually he was sat with him, at side of him, on match days. My opinion is as a coach. Because Sir Alex, and you know as well as I know, and I'm not saying this has happened, but this is me on the outside looking in. If you've got somebody like that's kind of very much their own man in Sir Alex Ferguson, and you're sat at side of him, you'll pick things up from him, but basically you'll just let him run with it because he is who he is. He doesn't need you. No. And when he did need anybody, even though Phelan was there, so was the kind of character like Carlos Queiroz, who was a top coach. He didn't have feeling as so. In terms of order of merit, Carlos Queiroz would be the man that Alex would take more notice of, no disrespect, than Mickey Phelan.
Yeah.
Because that's why he's brought him in. He also gave Steve McLaren a platform. And we brought Steve McLaren in. Steve McLaren were at Manchester United. Steve McLaren, if I remember rightly, were he at Derby County previously? I might be wrong again.
Yeah, no.
But I'm sure he were. He's brought him in because he had a good reputation in the game as a coach.
As a coach, a very good coach.
A very good coach. So he brought him in. Now, around that time, I'm sure that Brian Kidd was still at Man United.
Yeah.
But Brian Kidd wasn't higher than Steve McLaren. Steve McLaren was the kind of one, but Sir Alex was the main man.
Yeah.
So my point is, and in addition to that, Sir Alex, which I must, and I'm big Man United, and obviously I've got friends in Man United, but I forgot about this, and it only come to light this week on the passing of Walter Smith, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't realise, I forgot that Sir Alex brought him in for a short space of time as his number 2.
Yeah.
Now, why has he brought him in? Because he's an experienced guru.
Experienced manager.
You follow me?
Yeah.
So Alex was doing everything.
Who's got the stripes?
Correct. Alex was doing everything right. Now I can take you back in the day when I was shortlisted many moons ago, when flying high at the top of the Vauxhall, it used to be the GM Vauxhall Conference League.
Yeah, remember that.
Right, Northwich Victoria were flying high. I put in for the job when that job was going. And I think Cliff Roberts were the manager that had stepped down, and I put in for the manager's job, and I was shortlisted. Now, I had never had any experience of managing at a GM Vauxhall Conference level, but no. I had loads of confidence in my ability as a manager, right, at whatever level, because in my opinion, managing, if you can manage, managing is still the same, whether you're managing at the bottom level or the top level, right? Yeah. It's still the same. You're managing. It's still the same job, right?
If you can get the tactics right, then it's same at any level,
right? But what I did, which because I had never managed at that level, and because the levels obviously were a lot higher than what I had managed, I pre-approach. Would you believe, Wilf McGuinness? And I asked him and put a proposal to him and said, if I am successful of getting this job, Wilf, I would love you to come as my number 2.
Yeah. Because
why?
Why? Because you knew you couldn't do that alone. You needed the experience alongside you to deal with situations that you've not yet dealt with.
Bang on. And I knew that. I weren't going to bring, no disrespect to Simon Holding. I might bring him in as a capacity.
Yeah.
But I wanted Wilf, because Wilf's credentials, he'd already been manager of Manchester United, although he got stepped down, right? He'd already had experience at York City as manager of York City. Hmm. So in my humble opinion, Wilf McGuinness was more qualified to, I'd be still the manager, but I'd bring in Wilf McGuinness. Now I was shortlisted, unfortunately, Martin Dobson got the job.
Yeah.
But my point, what I'm trying to make is, that was in my mindset.
Yeah.
If we take that to Manchester United currently, I think Ollie
is being shortchanged.
He's being shortchanged because there's nobody there for him. He's being pushed under a bus by Man United because the people who are around him, who's got experience there, the nearest person that's got. I mean, look, we go back to Mike Phelan. Mike Phelan, no disrespect, tried to take on a manager's role at Hull City. Failed. As a manager, not as a coach. Failed.
Yeah.
So my issue is here is the person that what should have happened at Manchester United, and I think it should even happen now. I really do, because nothing's going to change. He's going to end up with a second. It'll be a crying shame. I felt for him last week.
I did.
As a manager, we need to walk from that technical area. He knows what the rivalry is between Liverpool and Man United, how much the fans. He was nearly in tears.
He was.
And he's to walk that half the length of the pitch to get in. And you know what? Fair credit to the majority of the United supporters, because he's a legend.
Yes.
They didn't boo him. In fact, some of them clapped him. As gutted as they were, disappointed as they were, clapped him.
They know that he's as gutted as they are.
Exactly. 100%. But the problem is, he's still learning his apprentice at one of the biggest clubs in Europe, in the world, not just Europe, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and he's still learning. So for me, and I think United should go out and do it, people like Harry Redknapp, instead of going in the bleeding jungle, right? Yeah. They should have gone and targeted him. He's so much experience, not as coming in as a manager, as a consultant.
Yes.
And he works upstairs with Ollie. He works with them, and they bounce things off, and they talk, and and even on a match day, he sat there. Yeah. And at least he'd have somebody with experience that he can listen to and learn off.
Yeah.
On the job.
Yeah. You mentioned another one. I know we spoke about this the other day.
Martin O'Neill.
That was,
Martin O'Neill.
That's the kind of person you want who can put up with the big club mentality, and is a manager.
Correct.
Manager with experience.
100%. And for me, that's what United should be doing now. They should come out, make a statement. Ollie's going nowhere. What we're doing, we realise there's a kind of a void here, right? We like what he's doing. We're going to bring in Martin O'Neill. He's not the manager. He's coming in as an advisor. He's going to work upstairs, and he's going to work closely with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Right? Simple as.
Yeah.
Simple as.
And when things need changing in the game, rather than go 2-0, 3-0, 4-0 down and don't do anything, Martin O'Neill is there with the experience to be able to change a match.
100%. That's what he needs.
Because what happened last week, it just went into the buffers. The brakes weren't put on, and they just carried on playing the same way. Well, if you play the same way, nothing's going to change.
Well, you know what it were? It were one of the... And what I can't understand and get my head round, I just know my character. And if I was in Mickey Phelan's position and knowing my character, I'd be going up, sitting outside at manager and be in his ear like that. I'd be pecking his head.
But the fact you don't see that,
but you don't see
that's worrying.
It is worrying, and that's why it's all right. Everybody can, and I'm sure that listening to this, right, managers out there. I mean, Cleggy, and he's Man United, and I see odd things that he throws on social media, right? And I'm sure he'll agree with me what I'm saying. I mean, he's managing at a higher level than I am at the minute. But do you know what I'm saying? But I'm sure that he'll agree with what I'm saying, because he's been in it himself. He's there on the cold face. We're managers, and we understand. There's times in games where things are thrown at you. You're learning all the time, and you need to bounce things off people. But you need to make the final decision, and very quickly. Yeah. You have to do it quickly, instantaneously.
But if you've not been put in that position before, because Ollie's still learning the process, he needs that experience alongside him. The likes of Martin O'Neill, the likes of Harry Redknapp, who have been eat, sleep, and breathe it. Not a coach.
No, managers. And they both manage big clubs.
Yeah.
So you need somebody with a big club mentality. I mean, no disrespect, you threw a couple of names at me, and I went, well, to be honest, Steve, they're no different than Ollie.
Yeah. I will put in name. Who did I put? I was.
Well, you put Holloway one.
I put Ian Holloway. I put.
But you put
Johnson, Gary Johnson.
Yeah, but I kind of don't think that, because they haven't got. I kind of think they've got to be in this scenario.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I agree.
That's managed a big club. I'd even have gone one further. I mean, now they won't get him because he's gone to Watford.
Yeah, Ranieri would have been perfect.
Ranieri, they could have just put him in upstairs as it's just an advisor.
Yeah.
But I like the Martin O'Neill, and I like the Harry Redknapp. They don't want managers. They don't want to be. Their days have gone.
Yeah.
But they could do a good job and bring on Ollie, and Man United want Ollie. He's got Man United running through his veins.
Yeah. But it's giving Ollie the opportunity to bounce things off a manager and not run the risk of losing his job and losing this guy who I feel is a good manager in the making.
I agree. And he's been pushed under a bus at the minute, and I feel so sorry for him. I really, really do. Some cynics out there will say, why are you feeling sorry for him? Money you get paid. It's not about money. He's a human being at the end of the day. He's got feelings. He's got to go on to his family.
Money don't come into
this. Know, he's Man United, it ages you. It's aged. He's aged.
It has. It has.
But he needs that. And he hasn't had that. And people will turn around because they've got short memories. Well, what about Sir Alex? Well, Sir Alex is there, but Sir Alex has been ill.
Yeah.
Maybe now Sir Alex can, if he's feeling better, can step in and guide him and help him. Because I heard this week he were down at Carrington with him. Maybe. Let's not forget, sir. Let's not rule Sir Alex out. But that's what Ollie needs.
But if we go back to the Paul Scholes, you mentioned it that I'd spoken about it. He saw something last week, and he said quite clearly, if Jurgen Klopp was watching that first 45 minutes, he were rubbing his hands. Now, if Paul Scholes can see that, and a lot of other people can see that, how come it wasn't fixed in time for that game with Liverpool?
Well, there's only them. They've obviously got they've got a way of playing. They like to do this press, but if they're not in sync, which they're not in sync, I mean, I'm not being funny. They've got Wan-Bissaka playing at right back, right? He can't even insure his vehicle. He forgets about insuring his vehicle. So what chance have you to be in sync on a press?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got nothing upstairs.
Yeah, when you strip it back like that.
You know, what chance have you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being funny. We're at first goal. I can't remember now. We're at second goal. He was that far ahead of play. He's trying to get back in, and there's two players where he should be trying to tap a ball in net.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the fact that they never stopped it after 1 goal, 2 goals, and it continued right through the game, where it became almost like an exhibition game in the second half. It was horrible to. Well, I won't say that because I'm not a United fan, but I can. From your point of view, it was horrible to watch.
Well, it weren't good, were it? It weren't good. I mean, but it's so frustrating for everybody because if you know about tactics and roles and responsibilities within a team,
basics.
You know, but this is where strong leadership comes because look, to press, everybody's got to be pressing and all got to be in sync. It only needs one player to be out of sync, and straight away the press fails. You've all got to be in sync to do it. Manchester United are not in sync, and then there's an issue with. I think it was last week on 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Football. I think Gary Neville were highlighting it. And he had the machine so he could stop everything, and people ambling back into positions. Pogba's one. He ambles back. It's crazy. There's no ambling back. You sprint back. You get back into shape. He's ambling, passing responsibility on. It can't happen. Look, who am I? I'm not going to come on here and say what I think they should do. I know what they should do. Yeah. I'd do it in reverse. I'd do it in reverse. You make yourself. The first thing you do is make yourself a side that's difficult to break down and difficult to beat.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you do. It used to be back in the day. Probably when Sir Alex first took over, the first thing you did was get your back four right. Your back four defended first and foremost. Now it seems like, everybody in defence has to, they've got to be comfortable coming out with the ball and stepping in and things like that, more than defending. Well, the first thing you've got to do is make sure your defending's right. Now, if you look at Manchester United, even last season, they were wide open. You said earlier about the 2-man midfield. Well, it's not only the 2-man midfield, but when they've been on an attack and you look at United, there's a 2-man midfield with 2 defenders at back behind.
Yeah.
Well, look at all the space all around them. And anybody if you've got a team with players in it that's got loads of pace and athletic, They're just attacking that space and dragging you all over. There's not even a structure. And I think that's what's infuriating the Man United supporters, because there's no structure there. We're just a team that's wide open. I'm sure come on the 5 o'clock match on Saturday down at Tottenham, that'll be in reverse. I don't think there can't be many changes. They're outside the transfer window, so there'll be no. It's not like they're going to be able to bring any new players in. They've got what they've got, but they've got to have a rethink about the strategy of how they play. Yeah. So for me, if they could still play the same shape, there is not an issue. But instead of pressing, be kind of off and be out to break down, and then they should be the ones that's catching the teams on the counter. Which
is exactly what Scholes said. He said, we were playing against Liverpool and other teams. We didn't always go on the attack. Sometimes we'd sit in and give the opponent a little bit more respect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not rocket science, is it? It doesn't
always have to be gun-o, does it?
No. And the kind of, even on all his what he talks about. I mean, he keeps going on about, well, it's the Manchester United way. Attack. If they score 3, we'll score 4. That's rubbish. Not the Man United way was attack. But Man United, you know what? Listen, I want to see Ollie get sacked? No, I don't. I'll tell you that now. I don't. He's a legend, right? And he's got that job because the hierarchy, i.e. Sir Alex Ferguson, is not stupid because he knows about, Ollie as a person, about he's got managerial qualities, everything else. That's why he ticks the box. But let's go back to the conversation I had earlier about, Simon Holding coming in at Sutton's and growing and going up on the different levels to eventually becoming a director. And now he's retired as a former director of that operation, right? Well, we talk about this. He sees that in Ollie. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. He's got Man United in his DNA. I get that, but he needs guidance and help. But if they were to get rid of Ollie, the nearest manager, I'm sorry, they keep going on about Conte, all people like that. Keep them where they want to be over there. Keep them overseas. I'm not interested, right? The person that fits the DNA in this country at this moment in time, in my opinion, and there is only one, is Brendan Rodgers. He's the only one that will come anywhere near to fitting the Man United DNA. And the reason why I say that, you watch all the sides that he has managed and how they play football. It's
proven, Brent. Proven.
So if Ollie had to go...
It's no coincidence that he's done well at every single club he's been at.
No. If Ollie had to go, for me, there's only one man they should be targeting, and that's Brendan Rodgers.
Excellent. Absolute pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, at Little Wembley.
Top man. See you later.